Hi and welcome back to the channel. I ordered something that this is the very first run of this guitar, and it wasn't supposed to be here until I think September 18th, September 20th. It came way early and it came in a huge box. So there's only one guitar in here, and believe it or not, I am quite anxious to see this guitar. So let's open up this enormous Amazon box and see what's in here. I don't know if that's better or worse. This box can just kind of flop around in the other box. A lot of paper padding in there. I've never had a box that big, so we're going to have to dispose of this one. And there's all the paper that was in the box. Okay. Very first Grote on the channel. I've heard good things about Grote. So let's see what their budget guitar looks like and how it's set up from the factory. And it looks like a pretty nice box. It's stapled on that side, so I'm hoping we can just cut the tape up here. Get this thing out. I don't know if it comes with a gig bag or anything. Oh yeah, I can see a gig bag. And for this price point, that's kind of crazy. And again, it looks like it's set up like a backpack. And it's even got a little spot to put on your name tag. And this one's just got a pocket. There's no zipper on the pocket. One handle. Oh, look, it does have a pocket. Big, huge pocket. And again, we have it looks like a truss rod tool, Allen wrench, tremolo bar, and again, the Radio Shack cord. That was in the top pocket. Okay, let's check this guitar out. And the zippers on this bag, again, feel really nice. And it looks like it's got a little Velcro strap here. The other bag didn't have that. That's pretty nice. It's got a little piece for the neck to set into. That's pretty cool. There's quite a bit of padding in that as well. At least 3/8 of an inch padding. That's pretty nice. And our typical guitar condom. Rubber band. I haven't been this excited for a while. The pictures on this guitar it really looks nice in the pictures. And believe it or not, it's a roasted maple neck. And it's a matte finish. So it's a dull finish. Black hardware. It's pretty cool. And it's got a switch right here. So I'm assuming maybe that's a phase switch, or puts this down to a single coil versus a humbucker. It looks like your truss rod adjustment is right there. And the tuning keys are unbranded. And this says designed in the USA, crafted in China. So this is from China, not Indonesia or Korea. But the inlays, look at those inlays. That's pretty cool. Looks like we got a belly carve, no plate. Okay, you know what the next step is. We're going to put this guitar on the bench and start going over the specifications of everything. What the first fretted note is, how it's set up intonation wise from the factory, what the tuning is from the factory, string action height, neck relief. We're going to look at the electronics, look at the tremolo. Let's give this guitar a good once over. Okay, I have the guitar up on our little bench here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do what we always do. We're going to tune our strings, the open strings. We're going to check the 12th intonation, and we're going to check our first fretted note. But before we do that, in the last video there was a comment someone made that you have to check intonation and stuff with the guitar in its playing position. And that is true. You should tune your guitar in the playing position. But if you tune it in the playing position, you need to set the intonation in the playing position. If you tune your guitar laying flat and you check the intonation with it laying flat, there is no difference. The only difference is if you tune the guitar here and then turn it up, it's going to change its tuning. And we're going to prove that. It does not make a difference. Yes, the tune will be off. You might be 10 cents off, but you're going to be 10 cents off on your intonation. Let me show you. Right there's our E. I'm going to do first fretted or 12th. There's our intonation. You can see that it's pretty close. Now I'm going to turn the guitar up on its edge and watch what happens. You can see that it's falling off a little bit. But watch our 12th. It falls off the consistent amount. Open. 12th. If I lay the guitar over, it's perfectly in tune now. It does change the tuning, but look at our 12th. The ratio is the same. Now I can pick the guitar up and prove to you. Let's tune it in tune, standing up. We're going to increase the pitch. There it is. Now let's check the intonation. See what I mean? The only thing that's changed is your tune itself. You might be off a little bit E-wise, but as long as we check and tune our strings with it laying flat and check our first fretted note, the ratio is the same. Because when you go to play the guitar and now you tune the guitar in this orientation, all your settings are going to stay true. I hope that clarifies that. So now let's go through this guitar and check all the intonations and our first fretted notes. So we're going to retune the E for laying flat orientation. Here's our E on the 12th. That's pretty close. Let's check our first fretted note. And it is high. Check our A. There we go. Check the 12th. So the A looks a little high on the intonation. It is high. Let's check our first fretted note on the A. And that one's pretty good. Actually, I'd say for a stock guitar, that's very good. Let's check our D. D on the 12th. That one's a fraction high as well. Let's check our first fretted note. That is a fraction high, but that is actually pretty good for a stock guitar. Check our G. G on the 12th. That one's pretty close. G, first fretted note. Again, not too bad. Check our B. All right, B on the 12th. It's a little high. Let's check our B, first fretted note. That one is very good. Let's do our high E. High E on the 12th. That's pretty close. High E, first fretted note. And that's very good as well. All in all, it looks like the one string that needs some work is the low E. I think the nut needs a little bit of work. We're going to check the E, low E 12th. And our first fretted note on the low E. Yeah, the nut slot definitely needs some work on the low E. The rest of them are very close. All right, we're going to move the camera and we're going to check our neck relief and look at our string action height. Okay, changed the camera. I have my tool here and I'm not too sure what the fret scale on a Fender style guitar is. We're going to try 25.5. And that's what this one is. So we're going to stand it up here and we're going to look. This guitar has very, very little relief. There is just a little bit there, but it's pretty much perfectly straight. We're going to say that it has maybe 0.2 millimeter. I barely see light. And the only reason I'm saying that is I have an LED camera fixture behind the camera shining forward, and I can see that light right here, and it's very, very, very little. So we're going to call it 0.2, 0.1, pretty much straight. Now we're going to take our fret rocker. We're going to go through all these frets, and we're going to look for high frets. I'm going to go into squirrel mode, and I'll come out of squirrel mode if I find a bad fret. Okay, right there. Just a little bit of rock. It's very little, but it is there. Okay, we have one spot on that fret right there in the center. That's the only spot on the guitar. This is one of the best guitars we've had on the channel as far as fret rock. I believe we've had one guitar on the channel that had a perfect neck. This one just has one little spot. That's very, very good. So let's check the factory action height. Let's see what it's set up. And I'm going to make sure I keep I'm really bad for letting my thumb influence the strings. So we're going to check it on the 12th. The low E is set at 0.06. I barely see the black line under the low E. Let's check our high E, if I can get a hold of it without. The high E looks like it's 0.05 on the 12th. So believe it or not, that's how I set my guitars up. I like that setting. For me, that's comfortable. For a factory setup, I'd say that's a fraction on the low side for a factory setup. Most factories 0.07, and then they'll set the high E at 0.06. But that's good. Okay, let's go over fit and finish of the guitar and see if we see any peculiar items. It is a matte finish on the guitar. The edge of the guitar looks like it's using maybe 5/16 or a 3/8 inch round over bit. And it has an arm carve right here. The neck pocket line looks good. I don't see any chips or funny angles. The plate here is following the contour of the guitar. There's no gap in the center. It's flush. The tremolo rear cover plate is setting flush, and it is 3 pieces. It's white, black, white. It's quite pretty. We do have a tummy carve right here. I'm not seeing any checking or lines in the finish from a multi-piece body. I'm not seeing any bad spots, no dings, dents, or funny sanding spots. Body looks good. I'm not seeing any compound either. Sometimes you see some compound in these screws. Not seeing any compound. Everything looks clean. Looks like we have some standard strap buttons. The upper plate seems good. There is a little bit of deflection right here. I don't see any scratches on the hardware, but I am seeing something right here. It could be a couple different things. The only way to really check to see which is off is to run a center line from this part of the neck to dead center here, and then check to see if the bridge is set square. But the pick guard to the bridge, there's a difference in the reveal. It's a little tighter at the top than it is at the bottom. And we just checked the intonation, so the intonation was good. That doesn't mean the bridge is set 90 degrees to that center line, because you can adjust your saddles. So the only way to really know when you see something like that would be to center line this, check 90, and see how the bridge is set. But it intonated fine. So I'm going to probably say that it is the pickup cover. We could also measure between the face side of the bridge to the pickup. And that's what I'm looking at here. You can't really tell, to be honest with you. But there is a difference in the gap there. All the screws look nice. The only thing peculiar I'm seeing with the screws, all these screws are like a panhead screw. Even the screws for these pickups. The humbucker, these 2 screws are different than any other screw on the body. So look at the 2 screws on the humbucker versus the screws on the single coils and the pick guard. So they are different. Let's check our switch. The switch has a nice feel. It's got a nice positive stop. And as far as jiggle, it does have a little bit of jiggle. But I feel like I'm bending the metal more so than slapping the switch. There is a little bit there, but it's not much. Now something I see, I don't know what it does, there's a switch right here. I don't know where else you would have put it, but it looks kind of peculiar right there. And you notice the nut is way down and I see threads. And I see that on a lot of guitars. There may not be another nut on the back side of this. If there is, I would run this nut up semi-flush and then tighten the bottom nut. That way that's not sticking out of the pick guard that far. And I've seen that on a lot of different guitars. The switch is all the way up. And that switch has a nice feel as well. There's very, very little jiggle in the upper position, and there's a little bit of jiggle in the lower position. So let's check our pots. This is the volume pot. Volume pot feels nice and smooth. This says it's a tone pot. And another tone pot. And they all feel very smooth. They're firm but smooth. Here we have our truss rod adjuster. So instead of having the truss rod up here, it's down here. I'm starting to like that. That's pretty nice. And something that I really like about this guitar, look at the inlays on this neck. They are just beautiful. I love the colors in those inlays. The little dots. They are sharp. I even like what they did with the logo. The logo is an applied, I'm sure it's a plastic, but it's chromed and it's applied over top. And you do feel it, so whether or not they sprayed a top coat over that, I'm not sure, but you definitely feel the logo. So it's not like they built the finish up and then glossed over it and sanded it. So it was probably finished and then the logo applied. Using the tuning keys, they felt very smooth. I haven't played the guitar to know whether or not, they're going to hold tune, but they do feel smooth. The string trees, I think, are causing a problem. We had a problem with the G and the D as far as tuning, and then all of a sudden it would jump. So that's either in the nut, or sometimes these string trees can cause an issue. And they are the cheaper trees. So you might want to consider putting the ball bearing ones. It's got the little bearing on the end. And then something else is this neck. This is a roasted maple neck. And I don't know if you can tell, it's pretty thick. It's a thick neck. I would say that this is very close to it's probably not as thick as a Gibson 50s neck, but it's definitely thicker than the Gibson 60s, the Les Paul 60s neck. And I don't think I've ever felt a Strat with such a thick, chunky neck. It is chunky. But it feels like I'm going to say more D-shaped than C-shaped. There's more crown to this neck. It doesn't roll and become flat. There's more of a crown to this neck. So if you like a chunkier neck, this guitar definitely has the chunkier neck. Like I said, I don't think it's as thick as a 50s Gibson. Now let's check our fret feel. And this passes with flying colors. These are the ball-in frets. So there's no issue there. They feel nice and smooth. There's nothing to catch your hand. As far as the fret polishing, they've had a little bit of a polish. I'm going to put these frets maybe a fraction above average. They have a little bit of a scratch to them in some spots, like right in here. And then they're smooth. Well, they're smooth, but they're not glass smooth. So I would say the fret work is done rather well. And I think I've said this before, probably 75% of players would prefer this fret level. Some players don't like a super smooth, glossy fret. So these still have a little bite to them, but yet they're smooth. And as far as the tremolo bar is a thread-in unit. So you just keep threading it in and eventually it stops. There was no spring in the bag. So what you could do, you could take this tremolo out. Let's unthread it here, tremolo bar. And you can get a Fender sells them, just the little springs. You drop a spring down in this hole. And what that does is it allows you, when you thread this in, to keep this nice and loose. And you see that jiggle right there from the thread? That spring pushing up on the inside of the bar takes that jiggle out. So instead of having to go all the way here and tight, you can back it off one rotation. That spring pushing up takes that jiggle out. It was not shipped with that spring, but a Fender spring in there would do wonders for the bar. And I think that's going to pretty much cover us on fit and finish. I'm not seeing any issues other than the issue right here with the bridge and the plate. That spacing is definitely off. And I'm looking at the pickup to the bridge. That looks perpendicular. It actually looks like here it's tight to the pickup and here it's loose. And it's doing the exact opposite on this side, tight and loose. So I think this is shifted just a little bit. And looking at the guitar, this line is following the body rather well. So I think what I would do, if I checked this guitar center line and this is right, I would take this off and try to clean that out just a little bit and straighten that line. That's the only issue I'm seeing. Everything else looks really good. And I love this detail on this neck. That is just so nice. Putting that cut into the neck. That is really sharp. Our nut, just remembered, I'm going to say it's inset just a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It's not flush. It's not sticking out. There's a little bit of an inset. It's not much, but you can feel it. There's just a little bit of an inset to the nut. Okay, I have the guitar flipped over, and before we plug it into the amplifier and hear what this thing sounds like, let's look at the electronics. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at the jack here. So let me spin the guitar to where I can actually get to it. And hopefully there'll be enough wire where we can just pull this out and take a look. And there's our jack. And something I'm seeing right here, this solder joint looks really good. It has a really nice sheen to it. This one here is kind of dull. But it's pretty stiff. Looks like a basic jack. This is not a very good connection here. You can see the wires just kind of laying on top of the solder joint. Let's put it back in. Okay, let's look underneath here and see what we have. Guess we'll just take out the perimeter screws and try to lift up the cover and see what we have. Okay, let's try to finagle it out without completely disassembling the guitar. And it looks like we're not going to be able to, because this is tucked under the neck right here. And you can see it right here. You can see a little bit of the bridge plate. So we're going to have to loosen the strings to get a little playroom. Okay, let's see if we got enough playroom now. We might be able to tilt the guitar up and look at it on an angle. Why don't we try that? Okay, we're just going to peel it back because there's not enough room. We can see that we have micro pots here, and we also have, looks like a tone bleed, and this is one of the printed circuit board switches. Okay, just really couldn't see what was going on. I went ahead and loosened the strings even more and got the whole pick guard out with the electronics so we can really get a good idea of what's going on. And there we can see our solder joints. There are a couple good ones. This one, and this one's looks like it's cold. This one was no sheen on this one. But they're not bad. I'm not seeing huge globs of solder. It's just it doesn't have a nice sheen to the puddling. And this switch here, we can definitely see now that this is a coil tap. It's dropping one of the coils because it's coming up, and I'm seeing the 4 wires here. Well, 2 wires, start, end. These wires come through the center route of the guitar, and they've got one zip tie here. Micro pots. So all in all, it doesn't look bad. And if you can't tell, we are going to check the pickups. Now, I have not made a 1/4 inch jack with 2 leads on it, so we're going to do this kind of manually, but it should work. We should be in humbucker mode. Let's make sure we are in the humbucker. All right, and let's see what our humbucker reads. $11.1213 on the humbucker. Now let's flip our coil switch here. This should just be one. Yep, 5.58. Let's put it back in humbucker mode. And we're going to go to our center pickup. .30 in our center pickup. And then our neck position. So 5.25 in the neck position. Let's do both of these pickups. So 2.65. These two pickups, and we should be in the humbucker mode. .61. Now I'm going to do the coil tap. So 2.73 on that one. So it does drop a little bit when you do the coil tap and these two pickups. Okay, I've flipped the guitar over, backside up. We're going to remove this cover and look at the tremolo components. There's our pick guard, just like the top, white, black, white, 3-ply. And here's our ground coming through. When I see that, I get concerned. I prefer the ground to kind of come in like this. Give it some extra cable. Let it sit in there like that. If it sits on top of the spring and the cover's there and you're working the tremolo, it can rub through. Looks like a basic claw, 3 springs. And this block is pretty small. So it has a pretty small block. But the routing looks good. I can see that this is done, looks like they're doing it's a pretty steep step, probably 3/8 of an inch. There's a step here, then here. And you can see the offset in the step. So it looks like 2 steps here. I see a line here. So 2 steps down to this. And then this side was 3 steps. The last step's a pretty deep step. It's not consistent. It doesn't matter. But if I was writing the code, I would have made this, I would have split this step. 1, 2, 3 drops, consistent, and then a finishing pass. But it still looks good. The routes on the top of the guitar also looked good and clean, exactly like this. Very nice. They also put some holes here so you can get the strings through. So I believe it's time to reassemble this back cover, tune the instrument up, and let's actually hear this thing. Okay, I have the guitar reassembled and tuned up. We're playing through my rack mount amplifier today. We're going to start out in the bridge position. Everything is all the way up. Go to our first position. That's going to be our humbucker in center. We're going to stay in that position, but we're going to eliminate the humbucker and take it to single coil. Now we're going to go to our center position. Center position neck. Just our neck position. Okay, we're just going to do some open chords. We're going to start in our bridge position. Neck and center. Just our center position. This will be humbucker and center. Just the humbucker. And we're going to split the coil on the humbucker. Okay, we're going to do some basic lead work. The guitar has a very nice sound to it. Let's just do some light, clean stuff. That's our neck position. Neck center. Center position. Center humbucker. Just the humbucker. Let's just split the humbucker to a single coil. It's pretty nice sounding. If we roll off on the volume a little bit, it'll take some of the pick attack out. Very nice. Let's add a little crunch to it. Okay, I've switched my amp over to the crunchy channel. We're just going to start out in our bridge position. Let's try bridge position single coil. Let's do our bridge, and center. Single, single, switching to the bridge, making it a single coil. Center position. Center neck position. Just our neck. Sounds nice. Center position. Bridge position. Bridge position single. Now I'm going to switch my amp over to the dirty channel. Okay, that's going to conclude our review on the Grote. And this is Grote's brand new model, their Strat model. Amazon is selling it, and at the time of purchase it was $169, and they had a $30 off coupon, so that put the guitar at like $140 to my door. It was also not in stock, and Amazon said it was going to be a month and a half or 2 month wait for the guitar, and it showed up about a month early, so it took about 3.5 weeks for it to get here. I do believe that the guitar is in stock now, and Amazon is shipping them from the warehouse, so that's good news. My thoughts on it: this is a heck of a guitar. The pickups have a very unique sound to them. At first I didn't really care for the 2 single coils, but after playing around with it, I really like them. They've got a, I'm not going to say Telecaster sound, it sounds a cross between a Telecaster and a Strat in those positions. It's a nice sound. The humbucker is very clean and articulate, but yet you can put a lot of dirt behind it, and it does well heavily distorted. The being able to split the humbucker to a single coil makes it a very, just like a Strat. It works well. The fingerboard on this guitar is very smooth. Even with the chunky neck, it was very easy to play. And I actually started liking the neck profile more and more as I played it, especially the sound. The guitar sounds amazing. The overall fit and finish is good too. We only found one issue right here on the fit and finish. My personal thoughts are this is a great guitar. Anyway, if you like content like this, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. When I see that subscriber count going up, I know I'm doing what you guys want to see. Anyway, thank you for clicking on this video.